We're back for a second line day. It is gate 32, the gate of continuity of duration. And here we have a line called restraint. This is a fragile line. And at the same time, because it has to do with projection, it appears to be very locked into its process. Remember, second lines do not know what's going on in terms of their hexagram. They're simply living out their lives. And that process in them is coming out in one way or another, but it is the other who looks into their window and sees that possibility of the second line and calls them out. And that's the moment that they can really be paper tigers. The 32, it doesn't want to be called out, really. It's afraid of being pulled out. It's afraid that if it leaves its attention for a moment, then failure will come. And it doesn't want to be pulled out. So the second line, it gets pulled out anyway, and then they become tormented by what the discontinuity results in for them. And there are going to be two ways in which they work with this. The exaltation, the control of power for the benefit and enhancement of harmony, the potential for transformation that may be beneficial to others. It may be beneficial to others, but it's hidden away, and some restraint is necessary. At the same time, this is the channel of transformation, the attention paid by the 32 to its process, and the continuity of that process. It can deeply benefit others. And of course, the whole thing with the 32 too is that other people recognize that they can know the value of things and whether it's worthwhile to do something or not, to pay somebody a little bit more. So that can also be very beneficial. A child who has the 32 too, they need an education around value and around bargains. Ra said you should let them watch The Price is Right every day, let them develop their skills, let them recognize their gift for themselves. The detriment says a tendency and frustration, particularly from a position of strength, to social withdrawal rather than persistent control. The frustration with controls or being controlled. Social withdrawal, this is the hermit, remember. In order to maintain continuity, control is necessary. There is no financial success without some kind of control. Anybody who thinks that anything can operate successfully on the material or the financial plane without control is never going to make any money. If you look at the whole circuit, it is funneled through the 21, the gate of control. Everything about organizing the material plane has to do with control, and the 32 has the instinct to recognize when control is being tampered with, and they don't like it. They don't like the fact that one of their employees wants to create a new style. And at the same time, they can be very frustrated by controlling everybody and trying to keep people from jumping ship all the time. The 32 too can be a bit of a control freak. Second lines are, as we know, deeply involved in their own process. And just because they get called out, it doesn't mean that they're very successful. This is lower trigram. If they bother to look up and across at the other side, they're not really going to see anything very much. They don't know there's a gate at the other end. They don't know that the 54 is waiting to be measured and configured. They don't know that they have to pay attention to it in order for transformation to take place. They don't know any of that. The grounding is coming from gate 42 in the second line, called identification, which says recognition and acute capitalization of trends. Now, of course, this is a second line, so they don't know that they can capitalize on trends, just as the 32 too doesn't know that it is projecting out its power to control. But even so, there's a support here. These two gates play very nicely together. The moon is still in gate 37 since 6:24 this morning, being very friendly, making bargains, shaking your hands, giving you a hug, and supporting you when the need arises, feeding you, probably. It moves into gate 63 at 15:37, the gate of doubt. This is up in the head center. It's the pressure to find an answer, a logical answer, with the knowledge that in the spiral of life, all ends are a beginning. Doubt is what fuels the logic process. When we doubt, we look for answers. When we validate those answers, then we can put them through that sort of experimentation process. And then they get repeated, experimented with, repeated. It happens over and over again. We master the pattern, and then we will be able to survive in the future. And all of this is fueled by doubt. And then gate 22 at 1:45 tomorrow morning, back to the solar plexus for this individual gate of openness, of grace, depending on the mood for all things. So it could also be closedness and disgrace. This is an acoustic gate. It's the gate of the left ear. You can't necessarily rely on what you hear with this ear because it's related to the wave. And so you may not have heard everything the first time. You may need to listen to things several times to get their full meaning as you take them in through the movement of your wave. That's the 32 line 2. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will be back with a third line day tomorrow. Until then, thank you. Always thank you for joining me, for spending your time listening to these reports. I really appreciate that you do that, that you share your energy with me in this way. And until I see you tomorrow, go gently.